My name is Karen Nekessa Samkoya. I work as the Advocacy and Communications Coordinator for the Regional Schools and Colleges Permaculture Program, but I'm also supporting the Seed and Knowledge Initiative in terms of communicating farmer-led seed systems and agroecology. So we push for farmers' rights. RISCOP works in 5 African countries, and SKY also works in the Southern African countries. So what we are doing is to really have the farmers' voices heard into the agroecology policies. But what we do now is to actually just map out and identify the gaps in the policies at the national level with support from the farmers and government. So we realize that we cannot work alone in terms of just trying to integrate agroecology in the policies. Some of them have a bit of the principles of agroecology, but they do not really talk about it in a wider way. So we are looking at it and really trying to build the capacity of negotiators and policymakers, beginning at the very local level through the farmers and farmer organizations, so that we have these agroecology policies integrated in the national strategies and national programs. So what we have done in some of the countries like Kenya, we have actually counties that are actually having agroecology policies. But the challenge is now the national strategy, agroecology strategy, which is still being validated. At least we have tried to ensure that we worked with government, give a case of Kenya, to ensure that we include agroecology and have a national agroecology strategy. Once we have it launched, it will really support the already existing agroecology policy, for example, the Murang'a agroecology policy, which has gone to a higher level, and we even have the agroecology course in Murang'a University. But in other countries like Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa, they're also discussing that with negotiators and policymakers. We see some of these countries now already having discussions around having agroecology conferences to ensure that we transition our countries into agroecology countries. So through these conferences, consistently engaging policymakers and negotiators, we are seeing a breakthrough. And I'm happy that this meeting happening in Nairobi on just understanding the NAPs and NDCs with the negotiators and policymakers has given us a lot of hopes. We see lots of government officers in this meeting and have given us information that we didn't even have. So it's important that we keep working with them. And I always say there's no way we can now work in isolation without the government officers, and especially negotiators in terms of climate action. Different countries that work in different contexts. So before you get into the government systems and really convince them and influence them to support the agroecology, there are lots of ups and downs. One of them is for them to really understand what agroecology is. We have gotten challenges in terms of them asking us, what is the difference between agroecology and climate smart agriculture? So in a process of dialoguing and also having just capacity building trainings, we have had to convince most of the government officers and especially the negotiators at the national level to do that. But still not easy, because the issue now is, where is the evidence? We know as AFSA and our organizations, we have lots of evidence practically on the ground and some on our websites. And when you Google, of course, you'll see lots of evidence. But now the challenge we have and we are facing now is, how do we use the evidence we already have? Because, you know, evidence depends on the target audience, and evidence you can use at a community level may not be the same one you use for policymakers. So the serious challenge is about them asking for evidence and how we use what we have already. So because we are trying to sell a product to them that they find a bit new, of course it is done, they know it is being done, but I think the terminology is also really a matter. The other challenge we have seen and observed in our countries where we operate and AFSA members is the issue of coordination. You know, when we talk about agroecology, I know most of you also have heard of organic farming, regenerative agriculture, biointensive agriculture. So we all go to government offices with these terminologies. They get confused. So what we are telling people is to have a multi-stakeholder sort of platform for them to really speak as one voice, because all those things, in one way or the other, is agroecology. First of all, on COP, this COP at Baku, we look at, for me, I think my focus, and as an organization, is to also get the funders really have fund impactful agroecology initiatives. By saying impactful, I mean convincing them through the COP, because this is where we also network and collaborate better, convincing them to just fund those initiatives so that farmers' voices are heard. Of course, we cannot take farmers to the COP, not all of them, maybe a few, or sometimes what we do is collect evidence from them, some stories from them, and research so that we can produce a policy paper or a position paper through AFSA to be able to leverage on the COP and really convince more the policymakers, especially negotiators. But the other issue is to keep consistently working with the negotiators. If we just slide a bit, then we lose it. So we consistently work with them, and we are happy that agroecology is now being recognized at the UNFCCC. So as AFSA members, we want to keep on encouraging the negotiators and really continue building their capacity and sharing more information with them to ensure that we really have it on paper. And what we look forward to when we go to COP29 is for them to tell us, now we are ready for you. Please come, bring an expert to speak about agroecology, and also have this as a guideline in the national policies and legislations, but also make it a very, very global agenda, especially with the negotiators. But the Africa group of negotiators have been very helpful, and we look forward to keep working with them.